Hello and welcome to Mediumship Matters with me, Hannah McIntyre. How you doing? Today I've got a question from Deanna and she says, loving your podcast, especially the new mini offerings. Well done. Good. I'm glad you like it. Hannah, what is your take on sitting in the power? Would you relay your thoughts and experiences on this, especially when starting out? So I tried to record this a minute ago and then I got so tangled in my own resistance to the answer that I wanted to give that I couldn't get my words out and I've had to start again. So where do I think the best place to start is? At the beginning. When I was first developing my evidential mediumship, I was told I needed to learn to sit and be in the power. I thought, ooh. This sounds amazing. And I remember being told to practice sitting in the power and practice being in that space. But nobody could really tell me what it meant. It's a bit like when people start meditating. I don't know if you guys have ever done this, where you think there's going to be some special zone that you get into, like you hear a little fanfare that goes, da, 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 and you are now in the meditation zone. Well done. Whereas for most of us, in reality, if we're truthful, we have moments where we've drifted off and we haven't even realised we have until we come back, moments where we lose it all and fall asleep completely, and moments when we're supposed to be meditating but we're replaying a conversation we had with somebody in 1997 where we're still holding on to some angst from it. And that is the human condition. And I think, in honesty, and I guess my resistance is that I think this might trigger some people, but I don't really believe that there is a power to sit in anymore. So when I was taught about sitting in the power, I did do it, and I would have these periods of time where I would sit and imagine myself powering up. And I do think that that is useful when you are learning to develop. It's good to visualize a light inside of you or breathing in an energy from the spirit world. It's good to give you some sort of active visualization to help you open up your energy, to help you to believe that you can do it. But if we're going to be completely honest, as I do try to be, I think for the most part, it's really just about getting you to believe that you are able to do what you are naturally able to do. And over a long period of time, sitting in the power, I think, has become one of those things. So I used to do it. And then in the way that things do with me, because I am a hard taskmaster for myself, I would find myself getting ready for a reading for somebody. And I'd be there and I'd be thinking, am I in the power yet? Have I gotten the power? Am I in the power? Oh my God, is this reading going to work? Am I in the power? Is this reading going to work? Is this the power? Should I put music on to get myself into the power? Am I in the power now? Spirit, are you judging me? Am I not doing very well? Am I letting you down? They're not even in the Zoom room yet. Am I in the power? And I was tangling myself up so much in trying to do a good job and be right in it that I was actually making it harder for myself. So I think sitting in the power is a little old-fashioned. You may have heard me talking about on the podcast the blackboard analogy. In case you're new to it, I'm going to talk about it right now. But I think this is the updated version of sitting in the power for me. And then at some point in the future, hopefully through me, I'll be open up enough to be able to see the next level of it. But really, if you imagine your energy like a blackboard, and written all over it is your to-do list, the things that you want to do, the things you're thinking about, your worries, the things you need to heal from, written in different coloured chalks all over your blackboard. When you want to do spirit communication, whether you're doing evidential or communicating with spirit guides or whatever you're doing, you are trying to leave enough space on your blackboard for the energy to write. And the more space there is on your blackboard, the more space there is for that energy to be written. The energy can be written bigger, it can be written more clearly because there's more space on the blackboard. So it's pretty simple. If you're having a bad day, you're really stressed out, you're worried about what you're going to do about X, Y, Z, you're annoyed with someone, you've had an argument, you keep reliving it, you're writing all over your blackboard and you're going to find spirit communication harder. If you are in a good place where you've sat and you've been present with yourself and you've seen what's coming up for you and you've taken action on it and you're not filling every moment of every day with things to do and you're allowing yourself to be calm and steady and still at times, then you will have more space on your blackboard. So you will find spirit communication clearer. It's nothing to do with aptitude or natural ability. It's just who's got the clearest blackboard. Honestly, I believe that. Now, I think sitting in the power really is about sitting and being present with self. The more that you do that, the more that you see the things that are on your blackboard that you need to clear off to make space. And of course, as we go through life, more and more things are added to the blackboard because that is to be human. And so if you're sitting in the power thinking, am I in the power? Am I in the power? Am I in the power? You're writing, am I in the power, all over your blackboard, which is having a converse effect because it's taking up space. So I know that in olden times, there was a real focus from mediums on sitting in the power and being in an altered state and proving that you could do it. But I don't think that's the way that we need to work anymore. I think spirit are evolving in the way that they work with us as humanity is changing. You think about your grandparents' generation, if they were learning mediumship, they'd have needed to access that energy in a very different way to the way that we do now. I mean, it still makes me feel like a crazy old lady when I talk to my children about a time before the internet, where everything now is so accessible and so available. But now our spirit communication is quicker and more available and more accessible. We don't gather round candlelight for one person to read us a story who gets the best seat by the fire. We sit in rooms together, ignoring each other, absorbing information off our phones. Culture has completely changed. And I think the way that spirit work with us has changed because they will always find a way to get through. So I think sometimes teachers, without meaning to, use sitting in the power as almost a hierarchy or a judgment on their pupils. Well, you won't be able to communicate with spirit because you can't sit in the power. And I remember when I did my first demonstration on my own, and I was at Amanda's Village Hall, and I was very, very excited to be there, very, very nervous. And I went to try and sit in the power before I went to start working, and I just couldn't get into anything. I was petrified, having so much regret about all my decisions that had led me to this moment. So, and in that moment, I said to Spirit, am I letting you down? And they said, absolutely not. We are here. And they worked with me, and the spirits came through, and the work was done, and it far exceeded my expectations of what I could do. But I didn't sit in the power at all. Now, I think there is a power to mediumship, and I'm not saying there isn't a power. I'm just saying I think that power builds when you have the three corners of the mediumship triangle. When you have the spirit in the spirit world, the sitter and the medium, and everything is aligned. That's when you get truly magical mediumship, when all three of those aspects are working in synchronicity. Now, obviously, when you're doing platform, you only have two of those aspects until you find the sitter. But in that case, I think if you've got an engaging audience that are bringing good vibes and willing you well, that kind of takes the place of that sitter corner on the triangle. Am I saying words that make sense? So that's what I really think builds the power. And then you move into this space as you blend with the spirit world, and it gets stronger and clearer and stronger and clearer. That is a power. But you can't do that before the event. It's an absolute no-no to do a spirit communication in advance, because when you sit down in front of the person, you aren't building any blend or power with the spirit at all. You are relying on your memory. So your job is to get into a space where you surrender to allow that power and that build and that blend to take place. But you can't do that until the communication starts. And I honestly do not believe that any medium that is walking out on stage and doing the introduction is building a power before they do it, because you're trying to remember all the things you've got to say. You're trying to remember to tell people to turn off their phones, that you're going to have an interval and what time it is, how to respond to mediumship. So Deanna, you do you always, and you may find, like I did at the beginning, that kind of idea of building up a light from within you that grows and expands and fills your being, and you become a higher vibrational channel for spirit, helps you to do exactly that. But equally, if you're finding that you're kind of turned off by sitting in the power and it doesn't really make sense to you, you will find that you can work exactly the same without doing it. Your focus needs to be on clearing your blackboard, making sure there is space in your life just to be and unwind and let loose. And when you've done all of that, then just make sure you are holding on to that mediumship triangle and trusting in spirit and bringing in the energy of your sitter and trying to be that channel, trying to be that hollow bone, and just allowing spirit to build that power with you in the moment. So there, please don't shoot the messenger. It's important though. I love this question. And these are the kind of things that perhaps you don't realise you're not doing anymore until somebody asks you and you think, actually, yeah. I remember people talking about that. I'd forgotten about that. That's a bit like me with the hand positions in Reiki. Don't do those either. So there, I hope that answered your question. And of course, if it didn't, email me again. And if you've got a question from my answer of this question, you can email podcast@hannahmedium.co.uk and we will catch up again soon. Thanks for listening.